It was a regular Monday morning in New York City, but for country music superstar Carrie Underwood, it was anything but typical. She was scheduled for a live appearance on the widely watched, liberal-leaning morning talk show Morning Brew. The show, known for its politically charged commentary, frequently invited celebrities to push progressive narratives. Carrie, however, wasn't one to be pushed around. Dressed in a modest but stunning royal blue dress paired with cowboy boots, a nod to her Oklahoma roots, Carrie was as radiant as ever. She was there to promote her new album, Heartland Fire, but she knew from experience that appearances on Morning Brew often turned political fast. Still, she agreed. Why? Because she was tired of the assumption that country singers would shy away from expressing themselves. Backstage, her manager whispered, "Just smile and deflect if they try to go political." Carrie grinned. "Oh, I'm not deflecting today." The studio lights brightened as the show returned from a commercial break. Hosts Brianna West, a known liberal commentator, and her co-host Jay Fields welcomed Carrie with a warm but slightly forced smile. "Welcome, Carrie. America's country sweetheart." Brianna beamed. "Thanks, y'all," Carrie replied with her trademark Southern charm, waving to the camera and audience. Jay dove into safe territory, the album, the inspiration, the tour. Carrie answered each question with grace and enthusiasm. But then, as expected, Brianna shifted gears. "So Carrie," she said with a tight-lipped smile, "you're known for your Christian faith and traditional values. Given the current social climate, especially with the push for more progressive ideals, don't you think it's time for country music and artists like yourself to modernize?" Carrie raised an eyebrow. "Modernize how?" "Well," Brianna continued, "your music tends to focus on family, faith, and patriotism. Don't you think that risks alienating more open-minded fans? Wouldn't it be better to move away from such dated themes?" The air in the studio tightened. Even Jay shifted uncomfortably. But Carrie leaned forward, eyes twinkling. "I didn't know loving your family, loving your country, and believing in God were outdated," she said with a smirk. The audience chuckled. Brianna tried to recover. "I'm just saying many artists are using their platforms to speak out on political issues, climate change, gender identity, racial justice. Don't you think country music is behind?" Carrie nodded thoughtfully. "Sure, lots of people are speaking out. That's their right. And it's also my right to sing about the things I love and believe in. My fans don't come to me for lectures, they come to me for music that makes them feel something real." Jay cracked a smile. "Can't argue with that." But Brianna pushed harder. "But isn't silence on certain issues just another form of privilege?" Carrie let out a soft laugh. "Oh, honey, I'm not silent. I just sing louder than most people talk." Boom. The audience erupted in laughter and applause. Jay clapped, visibly entertained. Brianna looked stunned for a beat but tried to smile through it. Carrie continued, "Listen, I respect everyone's right to speak their mind. But I'm not gonna let anyone shame me into trading in my beliefs just because they don't match a political narrative." It was clear, this wasn't going to be the puff piece Brianna had planned. Carrie was in control now. Backstage, producers debated whether to cut the segment short, but the viewership numbers were spiking. Twitter was already buzzing. Hashtags like #CarrieClapsBack and #CountryQueenUnleashed were trending. And this was only the beginning. Carrie's last words, "I just sing louder than most people talk," were echoing not just in the studio but across the internet. On social media, conservative personalities were cheering her bold stance while liberal influencers scrambled to frame the moment as problematic. But Carrie? She was cool as a cucumber. Brianna West, however, wasn't ready to back down. Determined to regain control, she leaned toward Carrie and said, "Okay, so let me ask it straight. If you had the power to change one thing in America right now, what would it be?" Without skipping a beat, Carrie replied, "The idea that you have to be loud to be right." The crowd laughed again. Jay let out a low whistle. "Dang, that was deep." Carrie turned to him with a smile. "Thanks, Jay. I believe in conversations, not confrontations. And that's what we're missing in this country, Grace." Brianna rolled her eyes. "But Carrie, with all due respect, don't you think there's a time when being polite is a form of compliance?" Carrie's face turned serious. "There's a difference between being polite and being passive. I may be polite, but I'm not afraid. I just choose to uplift instead of tear down." Jay tried to defuse the growing tension. "Carrie, your fans love that about you, your positivity. Do you think it's harder being a Christian artist in today's mainstream media?" Carrie nodded slowly. "It's not hard being a Christian. It's hard being one and still invited back to shows like this." The audience gasped, not in offense but admiration. The woman had guts. At that moment, a producer whispered in Brianna's earpiece, "The segment's gone viral. Don't cut it short." So Brianna took another swing. Carrie, you say your music isn't political, but your lyrics talk about praying, soldiers, small-town values. Isn't that code for a certain political leaning? Carrie blinked. You mean being American? More laughter. Carrie wasn't just holding her own, she was dominating the room. Look, she said, my music reflects my life. And in my life, I pray. I cook dinner for my husband. I raise my kids to say yes ma'am and no sir. I love this country. And if that offends people, maybe the problem isn't my music. Jay leaned back, genuinely impressed. That's as real as it gets. Brianna was flustered now. Her talking points weren't landing, and Carrie wasn't folding under pressure like some Hollywood starlet looking to stay in favor with the elite. She was a grounded, faith-filled mother of two who also happened to sell out arenas. Final question, Brianna said sharply. Would you ever use your platform to support causes like climate justice or LGBTQ plus rights? Wouldn't that be using your voice for good? Carrie looked her straight in the eye. I use my voice for good every day. I sing to bring people together, not divide them. And while I may not scream hashtags into a camera, I show love by how I treat others with respect. Even when they don't agree with me. That was it. Mic drop. The crowd stood up, clapping and cheering. Even a few of the behind-the-scenes crew joined in. Jay was visibly laughing. Carrie, I think we just witnessed something legendary. Brianna tried to laugh along, but the tension on her face was visible. She had walked into the interview thinking she'd corner a sweet country girl. Instead, she got a lioness draped in southern charm and bulletproof confidence. The segment ended with Carrie smiling brightly, waving to the crowd, and saying, "Y'all take care now." Backstage, her team erupted in high fives. Carrie took a sip of sweet tea from her thermos and chuckled. Well, that was fun. Little did she know, the real fireworks were about to begin. As the clip exploded online, turning her into a trending topic and a surprise symbol of cultural resistance. By the time Carrie Underwood's SUV pulled away from the studio, the internet was already ablaze. Hashtag Carrie claps back. Hashtag Country Queen Unfiltered. Hashtag Southern Charm Smackdown. All were trending within the hour. Clips of the interview were chopped, captioned, and memed to death. A 10-second soundbite of Carrie saying, "I just sing louder than most people talk," was now the background of dozens of TikTok lip syncs, YouTube reaction videos, and even a few country remix tracks. Conservative commentators hailed her as a symbol of sanity. Even some liberals secretly admitted that was a mic drop moment. Over at Morning Brew headquarters, chaos reigned. Producers huddled in glass offices reviewing the segment repeatedly. Brianna West was furious. She paced the hallway in heels, muttering, "We lost the narrative." Jay Fields, sipping an iced coffee, shrugged. "We didn't lose it. Carrie just had a better one." Back at Carrie's hotel suite, her phone buzzed nonstop. Her husband, Mike Fisher, called laughing, "Sweetheart, you just broke Twitter." Carrie grinned. "I didn't mean to. I just told the truth." "Yeah, well, you did it with a smile and boots." America's eating it up. She had hundreds of messages from fellow country stars. Luke Bryan texted, "You go, girl." Miranda Lambert messaged, "That was epic." And Dolly Parton's team even sent her a bouquet of pink roses with a note that read, "Keep shining, sugar." The truth always sounds better in harmony. But while the support was massive, so was the backlash. Progressive news outlets like BuzzPress and Metro Wave published scathing headlines. Carrie Underwood's faux folksy dog whistles, a closer look. Country's conservative darling dodges responsibility yet again. Commentators accused her of being tone-deaf, privileged, and anti-progress. A few celebrities even chimed in. Pop starlet Luna Ray, known for her neon hair and activism, tweeted, "Disappointed in it, Carrie Underwood. Using politeness as a shield from real issues is cowardice. We need voices, not harmonies." Carrie didn't respond, but her fans did in droves. The Carrie crew, as they called themselves, flooded Luna Ray's social accounts with memes, gifs, and reminders that Carrie donated millions to charity, worked with veterans, and supported children's hospitals across the country. One viral tweet read, "Carrie's done more for America on stage in boots than half of Hollywood has in their whole careers." Even mainstream outlets couldn't ignore the cultural moment. Fox News ran a segment titled "Carrie Underwood, Common Sense in Cowboy Boots." Meanwhile, The View invited her for a follow-up interview, which she politely declined. Carrie, ever the strategist, decided to lean into the momentum in her own way. She posted a 30-second selfie video on Instagram, smiling gently. "Hey y'all, thanks for the love. I wasn't trying to start anything. I was just being me." But I guess sometimes being real is revolutionary. God bless. The video hit 5 million views in 6 hours. Record stores saw a 30% spike in sales for her latest album Heartland Fire. Spotify reported a 40% increase in streaming. Even Walmart had to restock Carrie Underwood t-shirts in several southern states. Meanwhile, Morning Brew's YouTube channel saw record views, but the comments? Brutal. Carrie just exposed what happens when real people enter fake conversations. She stayed classy while the host got sassy. I'm not even a country fan, but I'm now a Carrie fan. At her next concert in Dallas, Carrie took the stage in front of a crowd of 50,000. As she strummed her guitar, she looked out and said, "This next one goes out to anyone who's ever been told to stay quiet. Sing louder." The crowd roared, and as the opening chords of her new anthem, Louder Than Words, rang out, it was clear. This was no longer just about a TV interview. This was about something bigger, a cultural moment, a movement, and Carrie was at the heart of it, smiling, singing, and standing tall in her boots. 3 days after the now legendary interview, Carrie Underwood was sitting on the porch of her Tennessee farmhouse, sipping lemonade, watching her kids play in the yard, and letting the storm calm itself. But the calm didn't last long. Her manager, Jody, barged through the screen door, holding her phone like it was the Holy Grail. "Carrie," she said, out of breath. "You're not gonna believe this." Carrie raised an eyebrow. "What now? Did someone try to cancel me for not having oat milk in my fridge?" "No," Jody grinned. "The President of the United States wants to talk to you." Carrie nearly choked on her lemonade. "Excuse me." Jody handed her the phone. On the other end of the line, a familiar voice, rugged, commanding, and unmistakably presidential, said, "Carrie, this is President Donald J. Trump. And let me tell you, you were tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. You handled that liberal nonsense better than anyone I've seen. You didn't just win, you dominated." Carrie blinked. Thank you, Mr. President. That's very kind." Trump continued, "We need voices like yours. People who don't cave, who keep their faith, who love this country. You didn't let them bully you, and America noticed." "I noticed." Carrie chuckled. "Well, sir, I wasn't trying to make headlines. I just spoke from the heart." "That's why you made them," Trump said. "Listen, I'm planning a 4th of July event at Mount Rushmore. Big crowd. Fireworks. Patriotism. I want you to headline it. An American voice for the American people. What do you say?" Carrie's jaw dropped. She didn't answer right away. Her kids were now chasing the family dog across the grass. She looked at them, at the freedom, the joy, the simplicity of her life, and then back at the phone. "I'll do it," she said. "But only if I can sing my own songs. No politics. Just heart." Trump replied, "That's all we need, Carrie. Just bring the heart. You've got plenty." July 4th, Mount Rushmore, 80,000 people. The crowd was electric. Flags waved. Fireworks were ready. Military veterans filled the front row. Carrie stood backstage in a dazzling red, white, and blue jacket, mic in hand, waiting for her cue. A massive American flag dropped from the sky. The announcer's voice boomed. "Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of the people, the heartbeat of country music, and the woman who reminded America that strength can still be sweet. Carrie Underwood." She stepped out, greeted by thunderous applause and chants of USA. USA. And then she sang. First, her classic hit, Something in the Water, then Before He Cheats, to throw in some sass. But the real moment came when she debuted her new track. Louder Than Words. The lyrics were bold, raw, and unifying. You can shout from the rooftops, or type out a storm, but love in your voice is where change is born. I'll sing my truth. In this world that swerves, sometimes a melody hits harder than words. The song ended with red, white, and blue fireworks lighting up the sky behind the monument. People cried, people danced, and Twitter imploded. Even some media outlets had to admit, she crushed it. CNN's headline the next morning read, Carrie's comeback. Music, meaning, and a mic drop moment for Middle America. Meanwhile, Morning Brew quietly pulled the original interview from their homepage. Brianna West, now the butt of dozens of wrecked by Carrie memes, was reportedly reevaluating her approach to celebrity interviews. Jay Fields? He got promoted. And Carrie? Well, she didn't change. She didn't gloat. She didn't post victory dances. She just kept singing, louder than ever. A month had passed since the Mount Rushmore event. The headlines had simmered down. The storm had rolled through. Yet, the aftershocks of Carrie Underwood's mic drop moment were still rippling across America. From school auditoriums to Sunday morning church services, her new song, Louder Than Words, was being played not just as music, but as a message. Radio hosts dubbed it the anthem of common sense. Even high school valedictorians quoted it in graduation speeches. And quietly, behind the scenes, Carrie's team had been getting offers, book deals, podcast appearances, even a potential Netflix documentary titled Grace and Grit, The Carrie Underwood Story. She turned most of them down, because Carrie wasn't interested in becoming a talking head or a political darling. She didn't want to be the next pundit on a panel yelling into a camera. That just wasn't her. She had a ranch, a family, a guitar, and a whole lot of heart. But one opportunity caught her attention: the Voices of Valor concert series, a non-profit tour focused on raising money for veterans and first responders. No frills, no politics, just country music under the stars with proceeds going to those who serve. She signed up immediately. The first stop? Tulsa, Oklahoma. A modest stage, an open field, folding chairs, and over 10,000 people in cowboy boots and baseball caps. Right before going on stage, Carrie received a letter handed to her by a volunteer. It was from a young woman named Maggie, a single mother and Army nurse stationed in Texas. It read, "Dear Carrie, I saw that interview. I was holding my newborn in one arm and crying my eyes out. Not because of what you said, but how you said it. Calm, honest, strong. You reminded me that kindness doesn't have to mean weakness. That values don't have to shout to be heard. Thank you for giving a voice to women like me." Carrie folded the note and tucked it into her jacket pocket. When she took the stage that night, she wasn't thinking about fame or headlines or even the drama that started it all. She was thinking about Maggie and her kids and every woman, man, or child who had ever been told their voice didn't matter unless it screamed. She adjusted her mic and said, "Y'all, I've had a wild few weeks, and the truth is, I didn't plan any of this. I didn't go looking for a spotlight, it kind of found me. But if my little moment on TV reminded you to speak your truth with heart, not hate, then maybe it was all worth it." And then she sang. No fireworks, no flashy lights, just a woman and her guitar, and silence across the field as every soul leaned in to listen. Back in Nashville, at a humble diner on Music Row, Jay Fields sat with a friend from his college days, sipping sweet tea. "You know," his friend said, "you were part of that now famous Underwood moment. You ever think about that?" Jay laughed. "Think about it? Man, I'm still trying to figure out how she made a roast sound like a lullaby. She didn't shout, didn't mock, but somehow still wiped the floor with us." His friend raised a brow. "You mad about it?" "Nope," Jay said, smiling. "I'm grateful. In a world full of noise, she reminded us that real power whispers. And when it sings, the whole world listens." 6 months later, Carrie was back in her kitchen, barefoot, holding a spatula in one hand and a toddler in the other. Her husband, Mike, flipped through a magazine and smirked. "You made the Time 100 list," he said. Carrie looked over. "Seriously?" "Yep, right between Elon Musk and Dolly Parton." She laughed. "What a weird party that would be." The article's caption read, "Carrie Underwood, proof that grace isn't weakness, that truth doesn't need volume, and that sometimes the most powerful voice in the room is the one that sings." Carrie smiled, kissed her baby on the head, and said softly, "Let him talk. I'll just keep singing."